In July of 1947, something crashed in the desert of southeastern New Mexico. This is the event that would become known as the Roswell UFO incident. I'm Dr. Howard, and it's Alien Hour. This episode is the second part in a two-part series about my investigation of the Roswell UFO crash site. In the first part, we answered the question of where is the Roswell UFO crash site? In today's episode, we will be looking at the question of what is the Roswell UFO crash site? Join me as I try to learn and understand more about this historic location. Before we get started, I want to cover one thing from last week's episode. Last week, I showed the plaque installed by the Sci-Fi Channel and asked if anybody knew why there were 13 dots after one sentence and 16 dots after another sentence. Gary Hodges wrote a comment explaining that 1 plus 3 is 4, and 1 plus 6 is 7, 4 and 7 together are 47. 1947 was the year of the crash. So I think that might actually explain why there are 13 dots and then 16 dots. So thank you so much for your comment and for tuning in. That's really amazing. Getting information that I missed from Alien Hour fans is one of my favorite things. So thank you so much for your comment. Now on to the question of what is the Roswell crash site? First of all, let's get one thing out of the way. The Roswell crash site is a UFO crash site. I can already see the comments saying, no, Dr. Howard, it was a balloon. You think it was a balloon? Well, here's what I think of that. If you still want to argue about it or write a nasty comment, let me tell you something else. We know that this is a saucer crash site because the government told us that it is a saucer crash site. This press release was issued before the individual who wrote it could be silenced. It is a fact. It's not a theory. What is the Roswell crash site? It is a UFO crash site. I also want to say that if you want to hear about the government cover-up or the witnesses, or the other humans involved in the crash, there are tons of great resources out there. What I want to talk about today, in order to answer the question of what is the Roswell UFO crash site, I want to talk about a real tragedy at the heart of the Roswell crash. One that is frequently overlooked or only very briefly covered in every account of the incident that I've read. There were at least 3, probably more, but at least 3 extraterrestrial beings that died on this spot. Maybe 1 or 2 lived long enough to see the inside of a secret government facility, but some of them died on impact. How do I know that they died? And this is actually my personal connection with this story, is that while I was filming in the area, I stayed with someone who grew up near where the Roswell crash site is. And they personally knew a man named Glenn Dennis, who was the man who was commissioned by the government to build a number of child-sized coffins shortly after the crash happened. I feel very confident that there were extraterrestrial beings, probably grays based on the size, who died in this field. To me, part of the tragedy is that we know very little about these beings. We know that there were at least 3 of them, and we know that they left behind some hieroglyphic writing. But who were these creatures? Did they have names? What did they want here? We tend to assume that they wanted something from us, the humans. But what if they were geologists who just wanted to check out the nearby lava field? Or alien archaeologists who wanted to see the human petroglyphs at the nearby Petroglyph National Monument and compare them to their own? Perhaps they were alien teenagers going for a joyride. We don't know, and I'm not sure we can ever know, but I want to know. I want to understand these beings who came here and died here. Scholars have mapped out how the Roswell incident narrative has changed over time. Sometimes it changes because there's new information, sometimes it changes for other reasons. One of those changes for another reason is that early versions of the account stated that the bodies of the aliens were found partially eaten by animals. But later versions dropped this detail, I think because it's just too sad to think about. We have empathy for these beings, but in this strange way of ignoring the grislier details of the story. Some accounts state that at least one of the aliens survived the crash. What did the survivor or survivors think of their brief time on our planet? As they lay dying, bleeding their alien blood into the soil, alien blood that I have to assume is green, in this nowhere place, surrounded by nothing but grassy hills, rocks, and snake holes. Maybe they saw a cow. Maybe they saw a coyote or a fox eating one of their dead friends. Maybe they saw a rancher or some soldiers. Maybe, if certain accounts are to be believed, they saw the inside of a top-secret military facility that very few terrestrial creatures have seen. But even so, that's a poor version of this planet. Did they travel to other parts of our planet first? Our beautiful, varied Earth, full of different cultures and creatures and ecosystems? Or was this crash their first vision of the planet? Was their representation of Earth an empty field, some cows, soldiers, the inside of a secret military base? Did they think the whole Earth was covered in brownish yellow grass? I wish I could take these beings on a tour of Earth. Show them a waterfall or a rainforest or a mountain peak. Take them on an evening hike. There's one more point I want to make about these extraterrestrial beings right now. And that's that if a witness did see these beings, they might not have been acting the way that they normally act. From my own UFO crash test, I learned that crashing a saucer is horrible. It makes you feel bad. It makes your body hurt. It makes you feel disoriented. Even I was acting like an alien after I crashed. So even if witnesses saw the aliens, we need to remember that they might have not been acting like themselves. Maybe they were concussed, confused, or asphyxiating in our atmosphere. I want to try to understand the extraterrestrials in this drama that has defined so much of the public image of this part of the country. These creatures that died out here in the desert. Maybe in the future, through channeling or something else, I'll be able to get closer and understand them better. And hopefully I'll be able to show them more of my home planet than what they got to see when they crashed. What is the Roswell crash site? It's a piece of land in Southeast New Mexico where a UFO crashed. It is a graveyard, a site where multiple extraterrestrial beings died. In my opinion, it's a site that should be protected and made much more accessible to the public so that others can understand what happened here. There needs to be a monument that mentions these extraterrestrial visitors because the one that's there doesn't mention them at all. Too often, the stories we tell about this place exclude the beings at the center of it. Because of this, I would like to take a moment to honor them now. Whether you're a human or an alien, thank you so much for watching this episode of Alien Hour. If you enjoyed it, please click that subscribe button. I will also put the link to the first part of this two-part series here somewhere or down below as well, so you can check that out. I really appreciate all of the fans, the people who comment. Thank you again for the comment that allowed us to figure out the 1947 significance of the dots on the monument. I really appreciate all of you. Appreciate everybody who subscribes, helps me keep doing this. So thank you all so much, and I will see you the next time it's Alien Hour.